When examining who participates in American politics, the first thing you want to look at are the characteristics of a likely voter, and then also the other ways that Americans can participate in politics. Because if there's one thing we found, it's that while Americans are not overwhelming in their ability to go out and vote for things, they are highly participatory, and we see a lot of people who might not vote actually getting involved in their communities in a multitude of ways. So let's start with the characteristics of a likely voter. The number one indicator of your level of participation in politics and your willingness to go out and vote and get involved in other ways comes down to your education level. The higher your education level, the more likely you are to vote and the more likely you are to participate in politics. If we look at income level, people with higher incomes tend to vote in a larger percentage than those with lower incomes. While we don't have any specific costs associated with voting, there are perceived costs that some people associate with the process of voting that prohibits certain workers from going and participating in the democratic process at the voting booth. So once again, when it comes to income level, the higher your income, the more likely you are to vote. With age is another factor that impacts voting. The older you are, the more likely you are to vote. Our voting block between the ages of 45 and 65 is one of the strongest and most consistent voting blocks. And as we discussed in class, that tends to explain why issues like Social Security and Medicare and the solutions offered to those problems tend to cater to those citizens in the age group of 45 to 65. When race is considered as a factor in voting patterns, you look and see that white Americans tend to vote at higher rates than African Americans. When you control for things like education level and income, and you even those things out and you examine white Americans versus African Americans at the same education level or income level, you see that African Americans actually participate at a higher rate when it comes to voting. Now, if voting is not your style, if you want to get involved in politics in another way, there are a lot of different things that you can do. You can run for office. There are very few requirements when it comes to running for office, usually just an age requirement and a residency requirement. So you can run for office and actually institute the changes that you feel are necessary. You can also campaign for a candidate. You can get out there, make phone calls, knock on doors, go to rallies, work for the campaign in writing letters and writing materials. You can also give money to a candidate and support their quest for office, help them buy advertisements. You can also, when you find something that you don't like in politics or that's happening in the government, you can join a protest or a rally and magnify your voice. And you can also do that by joining an interest group that's targeted at a very specific type of issue. Like, for example, the National Rifle Association, the NRA, very focused on gun rights. If that's important to you, you can join an interest group and help magnify your impact with like-minded people. Very important thing to understand about running for office, campaigning, or giving money to a candidate. Those are all things that help get you closer to decision makers. It helps you to get access to the points of power in our system. And that's why some people see it as a much more effective way of treating their participation in government as opposed to voting, which is very removed from the elected officials. Running for office, campaigning, giving money, those all make direct connections to elected officials. So these are just a few ways that people can participate in politics. There are lots of them, but these are some of the most popular and some of the most effective in terms of getting things done.